Well, Perry, there was some news floating around the internet about you visiting AEW when they were in Minnesota. I know you sent me a picture of you with Dean and Chris Jericho. Can you talk a little bit about what that experience was like and some of the people you got to see again? I'm sure it's been quite a while.
Well, yeah, Dean called me like the week before, and told me that they're going to be in St. Paul. And so I went up there just to see Dean and Chris, which was pretty awesome. Chris and I sat down. Chris has got his own little private dressing room, the big star. So I sat in his private dressing room, him and we just bullshitted for a couple hours. I've known Chris longer than I've known anybody, I think, in my life right now. And so it's just nice. I haven't got to sit down and just talk to him in a long time, I got to see Taz, which was awesome. Me, Taz, and John used to travel together in ECW, and Taz and I and Mikey Whipwreck would teach at the ECW school. So it was great seeing him. And I met his son. I remembered when he was trying to have a kid. And they were having some problems like some couples do, they don't always conceive right away. So that's cool, And who else did I see? I seen Jerry Lynn, which is always cool. He's a great guy, and Glacier, I didn't know Glacier was there. Fat Fingers the Magician, he's an agent there. Scotty Too Hot, he's an agent there, but he had off. I'd have loved to see him too.
So we can't.
But it's just good catching up with these guys,
Yeah, we can't just fly by the Fat Fingers Magicians. You got it. You got to tell me a little bit more about that. What is the whole Fat Fingers Magician?
Ray Glacier, he's a magician. A real magician. He does all the tricks and shit. And Raven noticed that he has the fattest fucking fingers you've ever seen. And usually magicians don't have fat fingers because they got to be nimble. And Raven started calling him Fat Fingers the Magician, and it just stuck. That's what we always call him.
So did he pull out any card tricks when you saw him?
No, but immediately that's what I think of every time I see him, So when I met a couple of the guys that I didn't know, that, that MJF, right? Is that his name, MJF?
Yep.
Right? Yeah, I think he's awesome. What he called Swerve, I like watching him too. I think he's awesome, So I met some guys I didn't know. Seen Moxley for a minute. I know him pretty good, I think. But it was good, Really, Dean and I had a good time. And I have, it's been decades since I talked to Jericho, just sat down and talked to him. And Taz and I haven't said a word to each other in probably 2 decades. So that was cool as shit too, So, and Tony Schiavone looks as young as he did when I started wrestling 30 years ago. He ain't aged a day. And everyone else around him is aged. I don't know how the hell that happened.
So tell me what it was like running into Taz again after all these years. Just give me a little rundown about that.
The boys are kind of weird. We get very close because we're stuck together in all kinds of situations. Boredom, overworked, just so you develop a real close friendship. And then when we drift apart, and then as soon as you see each other, it's like you didn't miss a minute, I don't know why it just goes back together that way, Taz and I, man, we used to just... Me, him, and John used to laugh our asses off, driving all the shows in ECW and shit. And I was with Taz at the school all the time during the week, so I was with him all the time, for a couple years. And he's he's so serious and fucking people think that he's too serious, but he's pretty funny, man. If you get to know him and shit, he's always cracking jokes and shit. He's pretty funny, so it's good to talk to him. Every time I see him, we got John was driving, I was sitting next to John, and Taz was in the back seat. We got pulled over for speeding, and then John took his ticket and took off, and he did a little hop, and the cop pulls us over right away again, and Taz goes, "Oh, I feel like Cousin Cooter back here." And I don't know why. I just think that's so funny. From the Dukes of Hazzard.
A good old Dukes of Hazzard reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, how long were you backstage? Was it the whole show then, or?
Just about. Yeah, the whole show. Yeah, because I got there a couple hours early. I got there at 4:30, I think. Yeah, 4:30 or right around 4:30, and I stayed till the end. So and like Chris had something to do in the beginning of the show and nothing really to do after that. So we had nothing but free time. Usually when I see him, he's running around doing 100 things, So it's really nice, man. We got to sit down and bullshit, like I've spent so much time with Chris and buses in Japan and shit, where you got nothing to do but talk to each other. So it was wicked cool to sit and talk to him, and I think that I can safely say that we're both fond of each other. So it's nice when you get to sit and talk to somebody,
Were you busting his balls at all for being in his own private dressing room?
Oh my God, the private dressing room, I got all over him for that. Good for him, man. If I could have my private dressing room, I'd have one too. So, but if I didn't have one, I'd bust somebody's balls who did it. And if I did have one, somebody should be busting mine.
Yep.
Because the ideal way to react to that is Bret Hart's first day in WCW is in Indianapolis. And just by some freak coincidence, him and I came in the building together. So we were walking through the back talking, and we get to the locker rooms, and it says WCW, NWO, and there's one that says Bret Hart. And he goes, "What is this, Perry?" And I go, "Oh, that's your locker room." He goes, "What do you mean my locker room?" I go, "Oh, you get your own locker room." He took the Bret Hart sign down, ripped it off the wall, went to Eric and said, "No, I don't get my own locker room. I dress with the boys." That's the way you should handle it. But, like Hogan had his own. If I could have my own, I would have had my own too. So, what do you call it? But it was just funny to see Chris, because Chris is so anti-superstar. All the shit that they did would drive him nuts. And he would speak on it, So it's so funny to see him have his own dressing room.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. That is, I do love that. It's interesting to see how things change over the time. And for meeting Chris, he was such a humble, nice guy too. Just what a great guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy, man. There's no way around it.
Yep.
Sometimes me and John in Japan, we'd be too much for him. We'd overwhelm his manners and stuff, because John used to call girls' butts a shit cutter. And every time he did that, Chris would go, "Oh, John, stop calling it that." And it was just too much for him,
Yeah. I can see how John might be a little much for some people,
Yeah, yes. Yeah, he can be, he was a bit much, man.
Well,
we were on the bus after that earthquake for like 20 hours a day, and John was keeping us all up, fucking cool. Nobody could sleep, so me and Warlord halcyon to put him to sleep. We all fell asleep. John's the only one who didn't sleep. I don't know how the fuck that nut stayed awake, because them halcyon put you out,
Yeah, I've heard. That is pretty crazy. He was able to kick out of that.
He was the only one who didn't sleep. When we all woke up, he was still up drinking and hopping around.